Welcome to this introductory series of training videos for SolidCAM. This video's topic is pocket recognition. So the pocket recognition toolpath is a recognition version of the regular pocketing toolpath and operation that we would have seen earlier in this introductory series. So a lot of the stuff covered in that video will be repeated here because, again, we're still doing pockets. So as a recognition toolpath, you can find it in your SolidCAM operations under recognition, and then there's pocket recognition. You can also go to SolidCAM AFRM, and there's pocket recognition there as well. But again, we can always go and do it the old way where we right-click on Setup, Add Milling Operation, Pocket Recognition. So pocket recognition is a pocketing toolpath that will actually look at the entire solid and find all the pockets for you. So this is a little different than some of the 3D recognition toolpaths we've covered in this introductory series, where we're not actually looking at scallops and such. We're looking at just purely prismatic pockets here. So this one can be useful if you're doing a part that, like we see on screen here, that generally just has pockets, cavities and bosses and such, but this has some filtering in the geometry selection that can be useful in places where maybe the 3D recognition ones are not working as thoroughly. So let's take a look at the geometry selection. We'll go to New Geometry, and the geometry for this is actually the entire solid itself. So if I have this set to selection mode solid body, I can just click on the solid and it'll recognize all the pockets on this part. It actually parses the model and then generates chain geometry for each one of those pockets. There's a few things to notice. There are a few through holes in this part, circular through holes, so they would be considered maybe drill points. So I am including through pockets by checking that box, but those through pockets are circular. I actually have a circular pocket diameter filter turned on where that diameter falls outside of that range, the minimum minimum diameter there, meaning that I'm looking to drill those holes rather than mill them out as pockets. Now, if there was a larger circular hole, obviously I can't drill it, or I'm not looking to drill it or bore it out. I might want to do it as a pocket. Then that is what this is for. I can actually turn off the filter or apply it so that it looks at larger holes rather than smaller holes. So essentially that is what the circular pocket is for. Under selection mode, as you saw here, I have solid body turned on. It found all the holes and all the pockets, all the bosses on this part, but maybe I'm not looking to do the entire part. Maybe I'm looking to only do certain faces. In that case, I'll click on only the faces I'm looking to do. Maybe this one here, this one here. And this works very similar to the smart face technology we saw in the pocket operation. Whereas I'm just going to click on a face and it'll recognize the face for me and generate chains for that. So if I click on the green check mark here, we can see that if I go to modify geometry, I've got only those faces selected. Now lastly, if I go back to new geometry, I also have the ability to do through pocket chain. Now I really don't have any through pockets on here, so I'm going to turn off my circular filter here so I can use these holes as the through pocket. Now with the through pocket chain, what you're actually doing is selecting the bottom edge of the through pocket, and then SolidCAM will project that through the part and use that as a through pocket geometry. So basically you select on the bottom edge is highlighted, and then that is understood to be a through pocket, indicated by that chain there. If I put this back at face, you can see the difference between the icons. Through pockets look like chains, faces look like that icon there. So essentially, that's what we're looking for. Now the last type of filter, let's say we do solid body, because I don't want to filter all the pockets, I just want to do the entire part, but I want to do it by color. Now this can be very useful if you have castings and forgings or molds where certain faces need to be machined to a certain level. So I can generate an entire pocketing toolpath or even a pocket recognition toolpath where I leave only 20 thou material as a wall and floor offset. But on these red faces, I want to redo them with only a 10 thou floor offset. I can select only those faces, either again by just clicking on define and going to my chart and choosing the actual color that we are using, or I can pick from the model. If I click on pick from model, grab that color there, it recognizes that type of color red. And now when I go to click on my solid body, it only chooses the faces of that color, as you can see highlighted there. So again, very useful if you go into your design model and color code what it is that you're looking to mill here. So if these ones should have only been done with certain facing tools, or this is a follow-up part where I'm only looking to do certain faces and they're indicated by the color, this is really useful for me to actually just apply my toolpath only to those faces. Let's say we go and we'll select the entire part. Now, I have geometry selected, but I can always go to edit the geometry. In the case of, let's say, I don't want to include certain ones, I can uncheck the box so I don't include those particular faces. One quick way to exclude, let's say, the top face, I'm probably not even looking to do that as a pocket. I can exclude top faces. I can just check that box, and then that top face has been unselected. If there's any floor fillets, I can do some floor fillet filtering here. So I can say ignore floor fillets. I can fill it by one profile cut. I can do the floor fillets in number of steps as well. So there's a way to account for the floor fillets in your pockets. Let's say we just do this guy here. I'm just going to exclude that top face. This being a recognition toolpath, I have the ability to do a 3D model gouge protection. So even though I'm looking at doing certain pockets, maybe I want to make sure that in doing one pocket, I don't gouge another pocket or another feature. I can turn on 3D gouge protection, and I have a gouge protection offset there. If I had a fixture defined, I could actually add a clearance to that fixture as well. If I were already machining this part and I wanted to do a follow-up using this pocket recognition, I want to make sure I don't do the same Z level. I want to make sure that I've already worked down to maybe this face here, and I don't want to try and repocket from the top down there as well. I can use the cut only rest material option. This is an option that we would have seen in the pocket operation as well, so I'll refer you to that video for the specifics of how that one works. Under tool, I'll just go select, and I can choose a tool from my toolkit. Now, how to create milling tools in this toolkit, I'll refer you to the creating milling tools video in this introductory series. For now, I'm just going to use this 1/2 inch tool. Under levels, I'm actually telling it to look at either the top of the target, top of stock, or I can actually just manually select by highlighting that and click on the top face of my part. So this being a recognition toolpath, I'm actually getting it to look from the upper level down to the entire target. Now, if I don't want to go to the entire target, maybe I just want to go down as far as that face. So I exclude faces that are deeper than that, or maybe even just this face right here. I can say lower level, click on that face there. And then even though those other faces were selected in my geometry, it won't go that far. It'll only travel between the upper level and the lower level. I can give it an equal step down as it goes across. So if the step down here, let's say, is 250, then it'll take a 250 step along each one of these pockets. Now, if some of these pockets fall in between that 250 step, as I go across here, maybe 250 is enough for this pocket, the overall pocket, but as I get to here, the height of that boss makes it fall in between the 250 step, I can add an adaptive step down, meaning that it'll do an additional pass to clean up that face. If we go to technology, basically this is the same workflow as we saw in the pocket operation video. So I'll refer to that video for the specifics. The only thing that's different here is that it is basically setting up pocketing rules based off the pocket operation parameters for the entire part. So we're not specifically calling out wall offsets and floor offsets for certain pockets. We're doing it for the entire part. So wherever there is a pocket, it will apply this sort of strategy and this sort of wall offset. Once we choose the strategy, you have control over the strategy here with the second tab. Again, this is a review of what we saw in the pocket operation video. Same with open pocket. Not all of these are open pockets, but where there is an open pocket, it'll follow that particular strategy. And the same with link. I have the ability here to control my ramping into the part, my lead in, lead out. Again, these two sections are exactly the same as what we saw in the pocketing operation, so I'll refer you to that one for the details on how those work. But basically what you'll take away from this is you apply a set of pocketing rules to the overall part, and then when you click Save and Calculate, you'll get pockets for each one of those features. Now what's kind of unique about this is it knows it's doing multiple pockets as well. So it is actually doing a main pocket on the top here using basically this edge here. And then as it gets a little lower, you can see it starts to generate pocketing toolpath for the entire part. If we take a look at that in Solid Verify, we'll see that it actually begins to do layer by layer different pockets. And there's the adaptive step down there because the 250 from the top left behind some material. And then we start to do some of those bosses there. Now, if I speed this up just to get to the end, you'll notice that it did not do those lower pockets. And that is because I defined the lower level. Now, that half-inch tool couldn't go in certain areas. So just like in the pocketing operation, we have the ability to do a rest roughing. So what I'll do now in this save and copy, I'll go and switch the tool to a smaller diameter tool. Again, going back to my toolkit, let's grab the 1/4 inch tool. We'll use the same geometry, the same levels. This time in technology, I'll switch it to rest material. And again, very similar to what we had in the previous toolpath. We can tell it what we were doing in terms of tool diameter, wall offset. I'll do a save and calculate. And now this toolpath will only focus on what was left behind on the overall part by the 1/2 inch. You can see that it recognized those corners there. It recognized that in that corner there's some more height there. So this is a fully recognition toolpath, but it's more of a prismatic toolpath. So it's not actually recognizing if there was any tapers. It's just looking at the various faces and different chains as just prismatic pockets. Any questions on this or anything else from SolidCAM, just give us a call at 1-866-975-1115 extension 2, and stay tuned for the rest of the videos in this introductory series. Thanks for watching.